Charter Local Edition, Brad Pomerance here in the Long Beach area, joined by Doug Haubert. He is the elected city prosecutor for the city of Long Beach. And I'd like to take our time together today to talk about a specific case. It's the case of a 36-year-old man from Long Beach. His name is Gary Stephen McJimsey. Why don't you tell us about Mr. McJimsey and the charges that were leveled against him by your office?
Well, our office handles about 1,000 domestic violence cases every year. And some of them are not particularly noteworthy, but sometimes you get a case that you will remember forever.
Sure.
And McJimsey is one of those cases. This was a particularly egregious serial abuser. In fact, this really resulted from two cases with two different victims, two different girlfriends of his that he abused over a number of weeks and months, and they were consolidated for trial.
Be as specific as you can with regard to what this individual was charged with doing.
Well, in one of the cases, he had broken up with the girlfriend. I don't even remember who broke up with who, but obviously he wanted to get back with her, and she wasn't having it. And one day he broke into her apartment through the window.
And by the way, I think in this case they had a child together, is that right?
Well, the second case, they had a child together.
So let's start with the first case.
In the first case, he broke in through the window while she was sleeping on the couch. She immediately recognized him and what was happening, and she ran out the front door. He chased her out the front door, he tackled her, and he was sitting on top of her while he pummeled her with his fists. A neighbor was calling 911, and when the police started to arrive, he ran. But he didn't run away from the scene. He ran and found a hammer and started smashing out the headlights of her car that was parked close to the apartment there. What a terrifying event to have happened to you. And she did get a temporary restraining order, and even after she got the temporary restraining order, he continued to contact her by texting her very threatening messages. In fact, he threatened to kill her at one point.
Then in the second case, right around the same time, I mean, this was all going on in 2015. What happened there?
Well, in the second case, this was a woman that he had a child with.
Right.
In fact, one of the facts that came out at sentencing is that he had beaten her while she was pregnant with his child a few years ago. Well, he was trying to get back with her as well, and things didn't work out on that front either. And he sent her a number of very threatening text messages because he saw a photo of her with another man.
Right.
So he was threatening her. One day he broke into her house and videotaped himself cutting up her clothes with scissors, and he sent the video to her as a text message. So she immediately got a restraining order against him. He still returned to the house and with a saw sawed off the security door that would keep people out of her house. So there were a number of charges in that case as well, violation of a restraining order among them. But between the vandalism, the repeated serial conduct of this person, there was no question this was a person that had some serious anger issues, serious deep-seated emotional problems. This is the type of case that you just have this feeling if it doesn't get addressed right away, you know something really bad is going to happen.
So along those lines, I'm wondering why this case was brought pursuant to misdemeanor codes. Because as you described the facts, these seem like felonies. I mean, a hammer, hitting someone with a hammer, is that not a felony?
Well, he didn't hit her with a hammer, he hit the car headlights and smashed out the headlights.
But weren't there physical beatings?
There were beatings. In the world of domestic violence can be a felony. In fact, often it's described as a wobbler. It can be a felony if there are serious injuries to the victim. And the district attorney's office reviews cases to determine if there are serious enough injuries to file felony domestic violence charges on them. But our district attorney's office does a great job. Their hands are full. They've got a lot of cases.
But the text messages, I mean, doesn't that rise to the level of felony? I know you don't make these decisions, but I'm just asking you about that. These terroristic threats?
Yeah, I don't want to second guess the district attorney's choice in this. But this was also a situation where there was serial behavior.
Right.
If you add up all of these things, it certainly puts it in a perspective that makes it more serious than any one thing by itself.
But in the end, for whatever reason, which we don't know, the DA did not file felony charges.
Correct.
That therefore allowed your office to make a decision as to whether to file misdemeanor charges.
We did, and we combined the two cases for trial, so the jury got to hear about his behavior against both of the victims.
And so there were 9 misdemeanor counts. In less than 1 hour, the jury returned 9 guilty verdicts.
That's correct.
Was that surprising to you?
No, it was not surprising to me. I was glad when I heard the result. But the prosecutor that took the case to trial, Pooja Kumar, does a great job. She's an expert in this area, and she left no stone unturned. And also the defendant himself, was in the trial. I believe he testified and tried to explain away some of these things. But there was very little possibility to explain all of these things away, especially with 2 different victims.
So then there's the question of sentencing. And we know that we are going through a revolution in the question of how we sentence, for how long we sentence. As a general proposition, what we're looking to have is, quote, lower level offenses. Those prisoners would be incarcerated in the county facilities, whereas higher level offenses, those prisoners would be incarcerated in a state prison. These seem like higher level offenses, but they're not. And as a general proposition, county inmates are supposed to be there for 3 years or less. But in this case, how long will this individual be in jail?
Well, the maximum you can serve on a misdemeanor is 1 year, but that's 1 year per account.
Right.
Per count. And I agree with you, the trend over the last at least 3 years has really been to focus on the criminal and what's best for the criminal. And the law has given very little attention to the victims and given very little attention to the likelihood of the criminal reoffending or committing more serious acts. So I agree with you, the trend has been going a different way, but I think this was the type of case that needed special attention, and our office gave it that attention. The judge took the case very seriously and handed down what I believe is probably the longest criminal sentence for misdemeanor in Long Beach. And the judge sentenced Mr. McJimsey to 8 years in county jail.
That's for real. That's a long sentence. The question is, will he serve much of that time? If we were speaking a year, 2 years ago, I would think maybe not. But with Prop 47, it does seem as if there is more space in county facilities. Is that right, sir?
Yeah, there was more space when Prop 47 was passed for a number of reasons, but realignment took place before
Exactly.
Prop 47. Realignment shifted state prisoners to the county jail for the entirety of their sentence. So instead of a 5-year state prison sentence, a person gets a 5-year county jail sentence. So the county jail is getting filled very, very quickly with people who are convicted to long or medium-term felony sentences. So I would be surprised if he served less than a year of his 8 years, but I would not be surprised if he's out in 2 years, 2 to 3 years. I would
It's
not be
that
surprised.
serious in terms of the county overcrowding crisis.
Well, it's that, but there's also the state legislature creates good time credits for people, which are all automatically given. So almost certainly, if he behaves himself in the county jail, he will not be serving anywhere near 8 years.
Even though these acts were violent?
Yes.
Because when you look at what the voters are trying to tell us, we're looking at non-violent offenses. That's the offenses where we want to reevaluate how long people are sitting in prison. But with violent offenses, it seems as if the voters are saying, no, we don't want changes there.
Right. I will tell you, I would be surprised.
The facts are the facts.
I'd be surprised if he serves anywhere near even 50% of that term, and I'm predicting probably closer to 2 years on an 8-year sentence.
That being said, are you pleased with the final result?
I am. I think this was one of those cases where we needed to intercede and do something, and the judge, again, the judge is the one that sentenced this person. I think that's important. But these are the types of cases that need special attention, and despite the trend, we cannot forget about the victims in these cases, and we can't forget that there are dangerous people that need to be locked away to keep you and I safe.
He is Doug Haubert, City Prosecutor in Long Beach. I'm Brad Pomerance, Charter Local Edition.